Hi everyone, I'm here tonight with an episode of One Card Weeknight. In this episode, I'm going to feature a detailed tutorial for one of the cards that I had made in my most recent episode of 5 Cards in 5 Minutes featuring Hero Art's February 2018 kit. I'm going to be showing you how to make the Moonlight over Stormy Seas card. It was card 3 in the 5 cards video. The great thing about this card is that it looks really impressive and difficult, but it's actually pretty easy to make and it requires minimal supplies. In fact, if you've ever taken a painting class at Pinot's Palette or any of the various paint and sip classes that are around and you enjoyed it, then you should enjoy making this card. This card uses very similar techniques to those that you would learn in one of these paint and sip classes, and that's actually where I got the idea for how to shade in the water and whatnot and draw on the horizon. So first, let's talk about the supplies for this card. So I wrote it out on a piece of paper in front of you so you can see where you can find all the different supplies, and I listed for the different ink cubes and for the one stamp that's used which Hero Arts kit you should look to in order to find that supply. Also, you'll need a white gel pen, some turquoise colored markers, alcohol-based markers, a white gel pen, a 2-inch circle punch, some masking tape, some post-it tape like the kind you see right here that I forgot to put in initially, and some Bristol Smooth cardstock for the card panel. The only supplies that I listed are those for the panel. It's up to you what card base you want to use and what sentiment and whatever other decorations you want to put on the card. So let's get right into it. So here I just took my 2-inch circle punch and I punched out a piece of masking paper so I could have masking paper in the shape of a circle, and I put that in the center of the card, and I'm just going over that with some of the lighter turquoise ink. And you don't need these exact inks. If you have anything that is near to these colors, that's fine. You could even have a light blue and a dark blue sky as opposed to like a teal colored sky. So the reason that I went around the moon initially with a lighter color is because I wanted to create a glow around the moon. And the way that you create a glow around an object with inks is to go around it with a lighter colored ink than what you're going to have surrounding that. But it does have to be an ink that is dark enough so that you can clearly see the definition of the circle. Otherwise, it won't look right. Here, what I'm doing is I'm taking the post-it tape and I'm just kind of splitting out the section that's going to be the sky from the section that's going to be the sea. I could have done that initially, but I forgot. But it also doesn't matter because I also, by doing it this way, I left some pretty blue highlights in the water that'll show up later on. Now I'm just going around the outside of the cardstock to make the outer edges of the night sky. And the way that I did it was that the darkest color is on the very, very edges, and the medium blue is the one in the middle, and then the lightest blue, the turquoise color, is the one that's going to be surrounding the moon. And I'm trying to leave as much of a glow as possible and blending back and forth among the different inks just to make sure that I preserve that pretty halo around the moon, but I'm also getting the sky dark enough so that it looks like the evening. And here I'm repositioning the post-it tape so that now we can start working on the sea so that there is a clear distinction between where the sky ends and the sea starts. And it looks like my post-it tape is not very sticky, so I'm having a little trouble figuring out how to place that, but looks like I got it. Okay, so now we're going to go in with the lightest turquoise color, and we're going to go darker around the edges and try to leave as much white as possible in the center because we want to make the moon glow into the water. And the way to do that is to leave the center a little bit white and lighter than the outside edges. Now I'm going in with my darker turquoise color, and I'm just going around the edges because now I'm trying to fill in the water and also take into account that it is the evening, so the water is going to be a little bit darker, but I'm still trying to preserve that highlight in the middle, the reflection of the moon in the water. Here I'm just continuing to work on the blend, and there's no absolute right or wrong way to do this. It's just you keep going until you get a picture that you're okay with, that you like. And one of the common mistakes, or at least a mistake that I make a lot, is that I won't leave enough light in the inside, in the inside of the panel. If that happens, just make the outsides darker, and that should help. Okay, now I've removed the Post-it tape, and now we're going to work on building in the little island that's in the horizon line. And to do that, you take a piece of Post-it tape that is flat and straight across, and that is going to be the horizon line. And then just tear the Post-it tape in an imprecise way, in a random way, and then just position it so that the edges are facing down, so that then it looks like you have a little island and some mountains in the back. And again, there's no right way to do it. It's just something, you tear the paper and it happens. You can't cut it with scissors. If you cut it with scissors, it won't look right. You just have to kind of go with the flow and just let your hands rip, and wherever they end up, they end up. And so now I'm removing all the Post-it tape from the paper, and we see our pretty moon and our pretty islands, and the VersaFine ink kind of bled a little bit into the ink blended background, but I kind of like that because it looks a little bit like mist coming off the mountains. And here I'm just shading in the moon. If you want to shade in your moon, if you just use a light gray marker and draw in some craters and a crescent on the side, you should be able to get a similar effect. Now I'm drawing in the water, the little ripples in the water, that is, and I'm starting with a B13, moving my pen from the outside edges of the paper towards the middle. And there's no rhyme or reason to this. It's just start at the edges, and just wherever your pen kind of hits the page, just make a little line. And then once you feel you have enough ripples in the water, then go over it with a darker shade. Here I'm using B18 to make a little shadow. And I actually don't know if the proper way to do it is to put the darker color on top of the lighter color or below it. I just put it on top. So my advice is just be consistent with however you're doing it, and it'll look fine. Now I'm just going in with some BG000. I actually forgot that I did that. I think just to soften out some of the lines. I think I got a little worried that the lines were too dark. I don't actually think that really added anything to the panel, so I think you could skip that step. Here I am going over the tops of the ripples with a white gel pen, just to add some highlights into the water and to kind of show the moon's reflection on the water. And also, you could also think of it as the froth on the water. And again, I'm just kind of going in wherever it feels right on top of the dark lines primarily, and then a little bit into the center of the panel, but that is going to be less noticeable because the center is light and it's difficult for light to show against light. But you can see how the reflection shows really, really well when it's paired right up against a dark line. Okay, so now it's time to die cut the panel. I'm using Lawn Fawn's dotted rectangles, and this panel is 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. And then I'm going to put it on top of a panel that's cut with Lawn Fawn zigzag rectangles, the largest rectangle in the set. It's just a little bit shy of an A2 size card, that's the panel I just put it on. Now I'm stamping the little bird onto the moon, and because this is the first time I'm using it, I stamped it off on the side a couple of times. This bird isn't in the February 2018 kit. It was included in the August 2017 kit. That's the kit with all of the like stars and moons and sky stuff. And the sentiment is from Hero Art's Dare to Dream stamp set. Okay, everyone, that is it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this card, and I really hope that you try to make it. It is much easier to make than it looks, as I hope this tutorial showed. In real time, this took me 21 minutes to make from start to finish. So I really hope you try it. I am off now. I am gonna go cook some dinner. It is beef medallion night in the Tappleberry Lane household, which is always a good night. And I hope that everyone out there, that you're having a good night, you're enjoying your dinners or your breakfast or your lunch or whatever your next meal is when you watch this video. I hope it's a good one. All right, catch everybody soon. Bye.